a stew, and her name is Minerva. Ouch. She's the flower of the flower. Ouch.
Welcome to the show.
Don't start. We haven't left yet.
Yeah, here I am. It's once again time for comics, cryptids, and cannonballs. As you can see, I've got my my Jaws. Look at that. Yeah, my Jaws fishing hat. One of the many gifts provided for me at this year's Summer Con. Of course, we will be taking a look at the generosity of some of you that are regulars in this chat that came by to see me and brought me a little something to say, hey, thanks for the effort. So I appreciate it very much. Now, here's the thing. So I get back from SummerCon Monday. Yeah, or pardon me, Sunday night, late Sunday night. And so I'm supposed to go in Monday because, as we know, the journey of my fake tooth that's being put in, right? So the process was they pulled the bad tooth, they drilled a hole up into my skull, and then screwed this titanium screw in there, and then put a bunch of stuff around it to make the bone grow and adhere to the titanium screw that's in there that brings a post down that you attach the false tooth to, right? So it's this big, long process. So I was going back for my 4-month checkup so that they could, order the tooth that's supposed to go in there. Well, they get in, they do an x-ray, and there's no bone growth around the screw at all. It's just completely black all the way around it. And so it was like all filled with infection and bacteria, but no bone growth. So they unscrew the thing, and then they clean out all the infection or whatever, fill it full of bone growth stuff, sew it back up. And here I am almost a week later, and I have no tooth. And once again, stitching in my gums where they say, well, don't eat this, don't chew here, don't drink this, don't. And I'm just like, I have to breathe and eat and drink to survive. But anyway, so I've been dealing with that this week, which is really kind of annoying, but I get the stitches out in a week from Monday. And at that point, I think I'm just going to say, you know what? I'm going to go like How to Train Your Dragon. I'm going to go toothless. And because I just don't want to deal with this crap anymore. But, that's just me. This doesn't match over here. Wait a minute. Where am I at? There we go. Here we go. This hat, you would think, it's very thin. You'd think it's cool. It's very hot. There's like zero venting in here. And so we'll see if I can make it through the whole show with this. Anyway, let's, the other problem I have, I just realized my system, this thing right here, this mouse, it's only at 14%. So I'm like, okay, how can I do this and get through the show? Because when it's plugged in and charging, I can't click on anything. So I have to unplug it to click and then plug it back in. So that's essentially what I'm going to be doing. So we'll see if we can get through the show without the my mouse dying. It was 11% just a few minutes ago. So I have gained a few few percentages here. So, but now I have to unplug it to go through the chat, which I'm going to do. Maromi is here. He says, hi, everyone. Graybeard's Overlord Creative Faye is here. She says, hi, Aaron, did you find the Frank Frazetta print I told you about at SummerCon? No, I didn't, because I never got over there to look. Which is probably a good thing, because I had no place to put a gigantic Frazetta print as much as I would have liked to have had one. So it probably was a good thing that I didn't get over there. Gemini Dragon is here. Stealth X5 is joining us. Sequential Treasures is here now. James and his wife brought me a few gifts, and we'll get to those momentarily. But we won't ruin the surprise quite yet. Corum is here. Randy Hall says he's here for the cannonballs. We'll see how that goes. Greetings and salutations from Pantheon. Matthew Muma says, hello, Aaron in chat. Thank you guys for joining us. JP Roca, what's good? Let's see. Who else we got? DF 58005 says late and gay. Okay, 2 minutes is not late, and I'm never gay. First cannonball right out of the chute. Best Age Comics is here. Eric Boyd. He says Corey Landis is here. Jimmy Owens. Hey, Jimmy. Hi there, Aaron. Hope all the family are doing well. Sending my love to you. And all, sorry I missed SummerCon. Health and couldn't leave mom alone for so long made it impossible. I understand. And I'm sorry you couldn't make it, Jimmy, but appreciate the greetings in the chat. Thank you very much. And we hope and pray that your situation improves, as always. Michelle Bowers. She's a lady with a sword. So you want to be careful around her. Don't piss her off. Let's see. Who else is here? Brobarian. 69 says Aaron finally hit that point where he needed something like he needed another hole in his head. Let me try that again. Aaron finally hit that point where he needed something like he needed another hole in his head. Well, I actually do have another hole in my head. I guess that's the joke you're making. Randy Howell for $2 says Aaron has a screw loose. Not anymore. They took it out. Paul Taylor, our resident biologist, is here. Eric Boyd says Star Trek poetry. Does this mean Aaron will do a Shatner Kirk impression? To paraphrase Michael Scott from The Office, no, please, God, no, no. It may very well mean that I am doing that. I know it's absurd, but it's absolutely true. Paul says Aaron's Shatner impression isn't bad, actually. It used to be really, really good. I haven't really done it that much in the last couple of years, so it's probably a little rusty, but we're going to do it anyway. Now, Pantheon's saying, just, stop trying to fight off the inevitable Yoakum Hall out. You're out. You're at the age where you can go ahead and throw those dentures in. The problem is, I wanted to get a bridge. They were more expensive than the fake tooth. So, and now the fake tooth is really expensive because I paid for half of it, $2,500, and I have nothing to show for it. So, yeah, good times. Excuse me. Okay, so now I'm plugging this back in because, no, I can't do that because we're going to do this. God, that is hot. We're going to do this.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
I took a big picture look at the show, and I said, some things, even though we changed the name and kind of didn't really go in a different direction, but came in with some new programming, and but some things just can't be left behind. And one of them is snack treats. Now, of course, I just happened to be at Trader Joe's yesterday and picked up these dark chocolate peanut butter cups. Now, the thing about these is they're dark chocolates, so therefore this is like almost like taking a vitamin. So 190 calories. You eat 3 of these and it's 190 calories. I'm just going to have one, so that's what? 63.33333 calories. I think that's okay. And plus, how many calories am I burning taking off the foil? You know, you got to assume that there's some. And also, you burn calories just sitting down. And I guarantee I'm burning calories wearing this hat because it's so freaking hot. All right, here we go. Now I have to put it in this side of my mouth because I'm not supposed to be doing any chewing on this side. I can just feel the healthiness just spreading throughout my body. Incredible. Okay. There's nothing like breaking protocol and etiquette by eating on the internet. I'm surprised YouTube isn't like flagging channels for eating on the internet. Bozo the Clown said, now this is interesting because I don't know if I can take Bozo the Clown seriously. He says, doctors are corrupt, especially dentists. Oh, I believe that. My daughter believed me. They create work for themselves, sue for millions. Well, I will admit they did kind of pressure me into getting this because I went in there to get a crown put on, and then they said the tooth was cracked all the way into the bone, so they couldn't save it. So I had to pull it. So I said, all right, pull it. And then they're like giving me options. And I said, well, I'm just going to leave it. And she goes, well, I wouldn't, that tooth, you know, it wouldn't do that. You need to replace it with something. Of course, both options were freaking, you know, super expensive. But now I'm genuinely pissed. So I'm like, when I'm in a good mood or I'm just, you know, calm and stable, I'm pretty easygoing, you know, I don't like confrontation. But if I get pissed off, then I'm ridiculously confrontational and will say stuff that'll embarrass people. So I'm just like, I'm this weird, psychotic sort of personality. Paul Taylor says, I finally got a crown for $10 Canadian. Thank you, Paul. I finally got a crown after making the dentist rebuild my molars for years because I'm cheap. One molar kept breaking, so I finally broke down and got a gold crown. Those supposedly last longer. I got one of those white porcelain crowns. I have a couple teeth that are crowned, and I've never really had any problems with them. Knock on wood, right? The problem is my teeth keep cracking, which means I have to keep getting crowns. In this case, just pulled out. But anyway, okay. Let's do this. Let's get this show rolling with our first feature of the night, which is, what is tonight's first feature? I think it's this one. Yeah, it's time for your expensive comic of the week. This one is not ridiculously expensive, but I did want to feature it because it features an artist that most of us are aware of and love. This is, of course, Captain America Comics number 77, Captain America Commie Smasher. This is in the 50s. So no more Axis threat, no more World War II. So the commies are the problem now. And what is so special about this? Why, it features the first cover, Captain America cover by John Romita Sr. How about that? Now, he did work in issue 76, which was his first Captain America work. I don't know if it was his first pro work or not. I've been having kind of a hard time pinning that down. But this is definitely his first Cap cover. And so I thought about doing the previous issue to this, but this one's actually worth more. Better cover. And although the other cover's fine, you know, the one that featured his artwork for the first time, but this actually Romita cover and art. And so let's take a look at this. Captain America Comics 77, a 7.5. That seems to be a pretty healthy grade to to look up. So let's go look at our friends over here on gocollect.com. What do they tell us? Well, let's see. A 7.5 is a $4,700 comic. Now, there's actually 101 of these graded. That seems like a lot to me for this Golden Age book, but maybe because it's the first John Romita cover that more people are aware of it. But as you can see, the grades here, there's not a lot. So an 8.5 is the highest known graded copy. So there's 1.85, 1.75, 4.70s, 1.65, 3.60. As you can see, there's a few more in the lower grades. But we're interested in the higher grade books because we want to make money on our collection. You could get down here to, oh, why is it loading on me? Am I having internet issues? Come on. There we go. You can get down to like a 3, which is kind of a crappy. Well, let's say you get into a VG or a VG plus, or even a fine. All these are about the same price, $1,600 to $1,300. I might spend $1,500 and get a 5.0 of that if I had $1,500, but I don't at the moment. But I have in the past spent money of that nature on books, so it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. But anyway, so we're looking at this 7.5, which right now is going for $4,700. Let's see. Last sale was 2024, so basically 2 years ago was the last time this book sold for $4,700. My guess is, and we have a $5,100 sale, that was pre-COVID, and then 4717 was post-COVID. So this would probably be an accurate reflection of the loss in value, because it probably, it didn't sell during COVID, but if it had, it probably would have got up to maybe 7,000. But we see it dropping back down to 4,700. So that was 2 years ago. This could be a $5,000 book right now, which, if you're in the golden age, $5,000, well, that's either a new tooth or this comic. And given the choice between the two right now, I'd take the comic. So anyway, there you go. That's Captain America Comics number 77 from 54. I was going to say that. I should have just guessed it, and that would have been right. $4,700 if you can find one in a 7.5. John Romita's first cap cover. Who knows? Maybe his first cover period. I don't know. I'm kind of having a hard time figuring that out. But it also, I didn't really look that hard either. So, Randy Howell, can we paste Madame and Trudeau's face on that Cap comic? So like the old Cap comics where he would, he'd beat up, you'd have Hitler, Mussolini, and who was the Japanese guy. And so now currently we would have Mamdani and Trudeau on there. Makes a lot of sense to me. Pastmaster Dan says, out there somewhere is an old box of rare and expensive comics that I've yet to find. So many people tell me stories about, I was at a garage sale and I found this box, or they said this Batman number 5 just laying there, just crazy stuff like that. Like I read this story about this guy in New Jersey. He was at a garage sale, yard sale, right? Now, of course, on the East Coast, you're going to find, in the New England area, you're going to find more old comics than you are probably anyplace else in the country. So anyway, he goes in and there's these stack of Life magazines sitting on this end table out in the yard, and he just starts thumbing through them, and he opens it up, and one of them has a Golden Age Captain America comic in it that was pretty nice shape. So he ends up buying it for like $15 or something and sells it for 10 grand or 20 grand or something ridiculous. I'm just like, oh, why doesn't that ever happen to me? Why am I not tearing my wall down and going, oh my gosh, look at this Golden Age comic in the wall? I mean, I've had people tell me stories like that. Of course, my house was built in, think 2001. So probably not going to find any Golden Age comics in this one, but anyway. Paul Taylor says, do you have your comics insured in case of fire you need to protect the estate sale? I do not. I did at one time. But it's like $600 a month or something. If I insured, not a month, a year, if I insured all my artwork and my comics, I'd probably be paying $1,000 or more a year in premiums. I'm just like, I'm already, I pay so much in insurance, it drives me nuts. But I know you're right, because as soon as I don't, it's like, I'm on the second floor here, so it's not going to flood. No one's going to come in and steal this stuff because it's too heavy. So the only way that anything could happen is if there was a fire. And if I had a fire, I mean, we lose probably our whole house. So, but there's a decent amount of dollar value attached to the original artwork I have, not only my own, but others that I've collected, as well as the comics. So you're right, but yeah, I'll probably be one of those dummies who just doesn't do it, and then pretty soon something bad's going to happen. Stealth for $2 says hello. Well, thank you, Stealth. Hello to you. All right, so what we're going to do now is, I don't really have an intro for this segment. This is like a one-off segment, but it's like, what did I get at SummerCon? Well, I looked around. I didn't get to look around that much. I didn't have any help. I was flying solo this time. And this flap is bugging me. It needs to be up higher. I don't know if that's better. Okay. So I didn't get anything that I paid for. However, some of you fine people in the chat brought me gifts. So let's take a look at my haul that I got at SummerCon, which will lead into an all new and exciting segment. As you can see, as I previewed earlier, I got this Jaws hat, right, from Leg Kick. Leg Kick brought me this and said, people always get me gifts with instructions attached to them, right? So he's like, you have to wear this on Graybeards because Dan Lawless wore a fishing hat like this, and he wanted to make Dan jealous, or have me make Dan jealous of my Jaws fishing hat. So I do believe I wore this on Graybeards. In fact, I'm positive I did. So there you go. Interestingly enough, Sleeping Psychopathy made a AI video of using Grateful Dead Touch of Grey song, which is one of the only Grateful Dead songs I actually like, of the four of us from Graybeards kind of walking on this pier or whatever. And it had basically, it had a Nebraska shirt on, which I usually wear, and it had this hat, but it didn't interpret the hat as a Jaws hat. It interpreted as an Iowa hat. So anybody that knows anything about college sports knows that Nebraska and Iowa do not get along. So here I am having a Nebraska shirt with an Iowa hat on it. That was pretty funny. But anyway, so this was the first gift given to me. Then, speaking of Nebraska, one of my, shall we say, chat friends supports campaigns for me. He's a fellow Nebraskan, big Nebraska Cornhusker fan. So we try and get together and watch a football game at least once a year. But anyway, he made me this. He also does woodworking. And this, of course, is the state of Nebraska, shaped like the state of Nebraska. This is black, what do you say, black maple, black oak, something like that, out of Nebraska. So it's a clock, you see, with the three main sports, money-making sports, volleyball. Of course, the women's team is fantastic. Basketball, which finally had a really great year this past year. And of course, football, we're still leading on our glory years, but hoping for a comeback. So he made me this clock. So how about that? Now I have to put a battery in it, of course, to get it to work, but I can hang this on the wall. And I got this custom-made Nebraska clock, which I think is pretty cool. Now, and that was Robin. Thank you for that, Robin. All right. So Creative Faye shows up and she gives me some strawberry pocky. Okay. And says this is from Creative Faye. Who is it from? Oh, she's going to show up in the chat. So embarrassed. Why can't I think of her name? Creative Faye, help me out. Angela Chocolates Curry. That's who it is. It took me a second, but I got it. So Angela Chocolates Curry, who's now in Ohio, couldn't make the show. And instead of sending me chocolate, she sends me strawberry pocky, which I will say the strawberry pocky is better than the chocolate pocky. But I always get the chocolate pocky because I'm a chocolate guy. But the strawberry is actually better. So anyway, I got the strawberry pocky. Creative Faye delivered me. That was from Chocolates Curry, who apparently now is Strawberry Curry. But then Creative Faye didn't stop there. She said, Aaron, here's a sketch pad for you. So look at this. So she gets me this sketch pad. Haven't used it yet, but oh, that breeze feels nice. Use it as a fan. So Creative Faye hooks me up with the sketch pad and two very interesting and unique orange pencils, apparently from the Home Depot. I don't know. But anyway, so there we go. We have these two orange pencils that she gave me to go with my sketchbook. There's David Williams in the chat insulting me, probably. So that's another gift I got. So I was just loading up on free stuff, and thank you, Creative Faye, for that. Now, James, known as Sequential Treasure, shows up. Says, Aaron, belated birthday gift for you. Weird Wonder Tales #1. Now, I do have a copy of this, but it's, of course, near mint, so it's protected. But this is to go in my spinner rack over here. See, The Thing That Devoured a Planet by Al Hartley. That thing. Devoured a Planet. Can you imagine when Marvel, this was all they were doing, was these sci-fi weird monster tales? You have to come up with this stuff. This is, of course, a reprint, Weird Wonder Tales. This is from the 70s, but the stories inside are from the early 60s. And same here, Where Monsters Dwell, #4. I created the monster in my cellar. Probably not the smartest thing you've ever done. I was trapped in the Nightmare Valley. This looks like Ditko. It is. Behind my door waits Medusa. I'm not sure what's going on right there. It looks like he just brushed his teeth and didn't rinse his mouth out, but I think that's just white on his beard, maybe. See, his mustache is up here, but it's skin colored, so it really throws everything off. So that's his mustache there, and this is his beard down here. So I think that's the mistake they made there. They didn't actually get the beard color, mustache colored. So anyway, you got some crazy Ditko artwork in here. Pre-Spider-Man. Of course, this comic came out in the... well, this one was 1970, but the actual story again was probably like 1961. Ooh, looks like a John Severin story in here. Is that John Severin? Let's see. I can't tell. Who drew that? I'll show you. I'll show you in a second here. No, that's not Severin, but who is that? Actually, the drawing's pretty good. I wonder if that's like Russ Heath or something. It's not Heath, is it? Interesting. Anybody find... Ooh, got that old musty newsprint smell in it. I want to know who that is. There's a pretty good drawing in there. And that figure work right there. That's pretty good stuff. So anyway, this is Where Monsters Dwell 4. I don't know. There's someone, they got to say who the artist is. It can't be. It's not Ralph Reese. Who is this? I wonder if it's Joe Orlando. It's good stuff. Interesting. All right. So anyway, we got that. So those are going on the old spinner rack now. But James wasn't done, folks. He wasn't done. He gives me this envelope full of groovy Star Trek stuff. Now check this out. I don't know what the copyright on this is, but it's got to be in the 60s. You can just look at it. These are like Star Trek stickers. Yeah, so you dip them in. It says instructions: dip in water, slide decal on desired pre-cleaned surface, press down and remove excess water. Look at that. This is like old school, like tattoos used to do on your skin, right? But wait, there's more. Yeah. So you got all the second tier. You got Sulu, Chekhov, Scotty, and Uhura. I've met 3 of these. Never met Scotty, but I have met Uhura, Chekhov, and Sulu. So David Williams, of course, calling me a nerd, but he's just jealous. Okay, now these, I don't know what to make of these. These, I think I'll send one of these to Graham Nolan. I got 2 patches. These are from Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, but what's with the rainbow? What are they trying to say here? I guess this was prior to the LGBTQ or STUV adopting the rainbow. But now you're going to question. You put this on your jacket, and you might arouse some questions. The 2 jacket patches from Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. But now the moment you've been waiting for. So he hands me this, which, does this actually exist? It does. This is a collection of poetry written by DeForrest Kelley called Remember. So I would be remiss if I didn't attempt to read some of DeForrest Kelley's poetry. Says The Big Bird's Dream by DeForrest Kelley, dedicated to all whose hearts follow Star Trek. Isn't that beautiful? So I didn't even know this existed, but you've got Shatner and Nimoy producing albums, if you want to call it that. And DeForrest Kelley saying, you know, I'm a bit of a writer. I can write some poetry. Gotta wet my whistle. See, I can't suck through a straw with this stitching in here, so that's why I had to take the lid off. All right, so here we go. So, of course, we'll try to read this as Bill Shatner might read it, live on television, as he was known to do. Now, this, before I get, these are, okay, this is like, I'm not going to read all of this. This is like, geez, these are long poems, but like several pages long, each one. So let's see if I can get this rolling here. Quiet, please. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, there lived a big bird nesting on a plane. He thought if he could hatch it and get it on the air, he'd make himself a fortune and build himself a lair. The day finally came, and the story was born. He let out a cackle, no more corn. He flew from his nest with a play in his claw, certain to sell it, for it had no flaw. The story he hatched within this yarn took place on a ship as big as a barn. Not only that, it was in outer space, far removed from the whole human race. Its crew searched the universe, worlds unknown, to teach and learn, and not to try to own. Not only that, they built a new nation, this time known as the Federation. All of this taking place in the skies, on a starship known as the Enterprise. Now, wouldn't you think, with a plot like this, the Big Bird had what couldn't miss? Well, he landed in Burbank on Hollywood Way and headed east to sell his play. Things weren't as easy as he thought they might be, particularly when dealing with NBC. The Enterprise crew was one of a kind, superb in their work, with good things in mind. Different in color and different in race. Green, white, yellow, and a token blackface. Whoa! At first, the black was not to be, till the Big Bird screamed at NBC. It's either she or I, he began to yell. Who knows who's going to ring whose bell? With great reluctance, they agreed to say, okay, fellows, we'll do it your way. At a later time, on another day, they'd be the first to boast that they went that way. Most who read it said, this bird is nuts. But there was one among them, possessed with guts. Let's go with this bird, loud and clear. He's saying things that people should hear. Marcus Killiger says, if Aaron stops the Shatner voice, he'll get more likes. I doubt it. One more page. Let's give it a try and hope it'll work. So spoke the head of the big network. So the pilot was made and they all took a look. My God, one shouted. He's filmed a book. Another one yelled, it's too far out. I don't understand what it's all about. But the one with guts had a grin on his face. Now he was ready to state his case. Far out, he said. I liked what I heard, and I'm still going to go with this crazy bird. So they made another pilot with a change here and there, and finally they got it on the air. The Big Bird felt a sense of elation after so many days of complete frustration. But now he knew the big job was done, and he was proud of his fine new son. One thing was left for the Big Bird to do, find a name for his dream come true. He gave a big party so the brass would appear to name this dream that he held so dear. Well, I could keep going on, but you get the general idea. DeForrest Kelley, quite the poet. Paul Taylor says, here's another $10 to stop for the love of God, man. Okay. Well, you know. Mr. Tambourine Man! You know. All righty, there you go. That was a little dramatic reading of the poetry that, unknown to me, DeForrest Kelley has had provided for us right here in this little pamphlet that apparently was distributed as a fanzine of some sort. And there you go. Whew, that worked up a sweat. Paul Taylor says, I gave a Shatner CD to one of my friends for his birthday and they left town. That's pretty good. Okay. So anyway, that is my summer con haul. And to everyone's chagrin, the Shatner reading of the poetry. Oh, what else do I got here? I've got so much stuff. So I've been working diligently on a little book I like to call Barbaric Adventures. Now, I would love to share, like I'm doing Shatner even when I'm not doing Shatner. I would love to share some original art with you, but I'm not going to. I'm going to wait. Maybe I'll share a T-Rex page with you, and that's coming up here very shortly. But for right now, as I'm working on this project, and what inevitably happens when I'm working on a page is, and I'm working larger than normal. So I'll get the, I'll frame in the page, right? Do the measurements and the whole 9 yards. And I've laid the page out on a smaller piece of paper. I'm pretty, okay, this is what I want to do. Then I'll start working it, and I'll start working it. And then I'll work it too much. And then I will damage the paper to a point where you're like, doggone it. Or I'll change my mind. You'll get the panel laid out and you go, I don't like that. And so I almost every single one of the pages I've done so far, I've had a screw up page, and then I had to light table the good stuff onto a new board and start over. So these pages are taking me a little bit longer than I had hoped. But anyway, they do look good. So, so that's what happened with this one. And it gets kind of tedious after a while. You're like, oh, I need a break from this, from, working this. Because this is going to be a tour de force. And to make sure the IRS wasn't calling me. Anyway, so sometimes you need a break, right? And you just say, and some people might go and watch TV. Some people might read a little poetry, perhaps. I get out my sketch pad and I draw. And then I came up with something. I said, you know what, this is working pretty well. Because I just had this idea, like a pose kind of came in my head. And so I did it. And Randy L says, you made $32 Canadian, but only $2 in the US. Your pay has been cut to Canadian money. What is he referring to? Are you referring? Oh, you're referring to super chats? Well, I guess, yeah, a lot of it is Canadian super chats today. So Pity Ma says, I can't believe I'm effing Pity Ma. Watch your language. There's kids here. Hail, Aaron, and Chat. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you caught some of that excellent dramatic reading of DeForrest Kelley's poetry that I just did. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So I did post this on all my social media sites, but, maybe you haven't seen it. Even if you have, I'm going to show it again. I'll probably show it on Graybeards because I kind of like it. One of the reasons I did it was because I wanted to mess around with some heavier shadows. And I didn't draw it just to draw it. I drew it with an intent. So here it is, Werewolf by Night. Another Werewolf by Night drawing. I'm kind of getting a rhythm on this character, and I'm like, you know what? I could draw this book. Do they even have Werewolf by Night anymore? Does Marvel? I don't know. But Paul Taylor says the kids fell asleep during the reading, so no worries. Oh, my goodness. So anyway, yeah, there you go. That's what I do in my spare time when I should be resting. I don't rest, I draw. And of course, everything I draw, is for sale. So, if you're a Werewolf by Night fan, you may contact me at your leisure. Marcus Killiger, after all the jokes, Marcus Killiger says, the shadows are great. Thank you. Eric Boyd says, that's really good. Thank you. Appreciate it. The interesting thing is, let me grab my book over here. I saw Finch drew a Werewolf by Night piece I thought was really cool. So that kind of inspired me to do a Werewolf by Night piece. So I did this one, which is kind of similar to what Finch did. I did this one at first, right? Which is okay, but it never really hit for me like I wanted it to. Yeah, I think it's good, but so then I got kind of inspired the other night and I said, let me try this one more time and see if I can get it the way that I really want it. And I think this one is pretty close to where I want it. Because I've always been an advocate of, big shadows help create volume, three-dimensional quality on your work. But when you start doing superhero work all the time and they're flying around on the day, it just seemed weird to me to put heavy shadows on them all the time. And so I'm trying to get back into that sort of rights and influence. And I'll be honest, I look at Finch's stuff and go, gosh, dang it, I got to be more bold with my blacks. So that has kind of helped me be a little more bold with my blacks. And so here I am experimenting. And I think, like normally I never would have put that big shadow on his left arm like that, but it works. It's nice. I mean, I was going to, if I guess I would have really ballsy, I would have blacked that all the way down to his hand, but I didn't. So anyway, interesting. So anyway, I think Kevin Nolan does it the best. It's like practical lighting. It's not necessary, right? Your shadows, they need to make sense in a certain way, but these shadows here on him may not be accurate. But you work the blacks in as a design element on your piece, and so you're going for more for an aesthetic than you are a practical application of light. And and I think guys that do that have really cool artwork. And so I'm kind of trying to retrain. And you'd think me being a Wrightson guy, this would be second nature to me, but it really isn't, because I got so far away from it doing superhero books that now I'm kind of trying to get back into it with, the Conan stuff, or in this case, Barbaric Adventures, monster stuff like this. And you look at it and you say, oh, I got to drop more black in there too, in different spots. So it's really this weird balance of trying. I don't want to be totally like Mignola and just like have huge flat black areas. But I do want to start using more black in my work so it has more of a three-dimensional quality to it, which I think this does. It feels very meaty, so anyway. So that, oh, great. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me right now? Because my, doggone this thing, man. Okay. I don't know what in the world just happened right there, but my picture just went black and I couldn't get it back. So I had to go out and come back in again, but here we are. Okay. So anyway, let's do this. I wonder if it's like my mouse running out of energy has anything to do with this. Look at this. I lost over 100 viewers because I went black. Oh my gosh. What a show, folks. And we're only halfway through. Let's do this. This Jaws hat is so freaking hot. Like splash water on me in a minute. Okay, so we're looking at the 1940 Academy Awards. Of course, we're using the Academy Award, the complete unofficial history, as our guide. We're assuming that everything in there is true. Even if it isn't, who cares? It's still good fun. All right, so 1940. So you're probably asking yourself, geez, Aaron, I wasn't around in 1940. And quite frankly, neither was I, regardless of what you might want to think right now. And so you're asking yourself, what picture might have possibly won Best Picture in 1940? Well, what if I told you that it was Alfred Hitchcock's first American film, Rebecca, wins Best Picture in 1940? Now, we're back after a short, I think, a year or two break. We're back to the Biltmore Bowl in the Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles. The host was Walter Wanger. Walter Wanger, who was the Academy president at the time. Now, they received through a live radio hookup. Franklin Delano Roosevelt took a few minutes to thank the industry for its charitable fundraising and promotion of the American way of life. Now, 1940, we weren't in the war quite yet, but we were getting there. And so Roosevelt was the first president to acknowledge the Academy. And so that was kind of interesting. Now, this was also the first year where the phrase, may I have the envelope, please, really meant something, because this was the first year the Academy Awards kept the awards secret. All right. So Price Waterhouse knew, and they were the only ones who knew. Now, Bette Davis gave a stunning performance in The Letter, but there was no hint of a shutout because, of course, no one knew this year for sure who won and who didn't win. So even though Bette Davis was the odds-on favorite once again to win, no one knew for sure. So though actually, as it says here, it was actually tinged with real suspense. So let's see if there's any. So I guess everybody was, they said all the winners and losers, everybody was very nice. It was a very cordial Academy Awards that year. However, Walter Wanger stopped the niceness of the show with his announcement, there will be no presentation of the Irving Thalberg Award tonight, as the Academy did not think any individual deserved it. Ouch. So anyway, there you go. So let's take a look at some of our other winners here, if we may. This is interesting because we talked about people winning Academy Awards that shouldn't. It still goes on today, but even back then it went on. Now, so James Stewart won Best Actor for The Philadelphia Story. And if you've seen The Philadelphia Story, which is a fun movie, it's a good movie, he didn't deserve the Best Oscar. So why did he get it? Well, let's take a look here. says Jimmy Stewart's Oscar was considered a gold-plated apology for his being robbed of the award the previous year for Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. So here we go in classic Academy Award fashion, not giving the right person the Academy Award when they should get it, and then making up for it later by giving it to them when they shouldn't win it. Paul Newman is a perfect example of that. And we'll get to that in several years when we get to the Academy Awards in the 80s. But so as we recall, in 1931, Goodbye, Mr. Chips actor Robert Donay won. Okay. Here was it was Robert Donay won. Clark Gable for Gone with the Wind. Clark Gable's good, but he's Clark Gable. Laurence Olivier for Wuthering Heights. You could argue that, he could have won. Mickey Rooney for Babes in Arms. No way. James Stewart for Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, one of his probably the most iconic performance of his career. With this lineup, it should have either been him or Olivier won. And of course, Robert Donay won for Goodbye, Mr. Chips. And we're still scratching our head, 90 years later, almost 90 years later, trying to figure out why that was. So anyway, James Stewart wins. And now let's look at the competition this year. Stewart had Charles Chaplin for The Great Director. How about that? Henry Fonda, The Grapes of Wrath. Raymond Massey, Abe Lincoln. Laurence Olivier and Rebecca. And then James Stewart wins for Philadelphia Story. Okay, Jim Stewart. See, that's what happens when you start doing makeup awards. You rob somebody else. This probably should have been Olivier's. Charlie Chaplin's always good, but I'm not going to give it to him. Henry Fonda maybe in The Grapes of Wrath. And I never really liked Raymond Massey, but Laurence Olivier, Rebecca wins Best Picture. You could have given it to Olivier, but they couldn't give it to him because they had to give it to Jimmy Stewart because they didn't give it to him the year before when they should have. So anyway, all right. So as we previously stated, Betty Davis was the odds-on favorite to win for The Letter, and she'd been the odds-on favorite for about 4 straight years, right? Now, I have not seen this movie, but it looks good. It looks kind of film noirish. She goes, I wish I could say I was sorry. So here you have Betty Davis, the smoking gun on the movie poster, The Letter, of course, directed by her lover, William Wyler. I do kind of want to see this movie now because it looks like very intriguing. So anyway, everybody's assuming Betty Davis is going to walk away with this thing, but lo and behold, she was denied. Yes, Ginger Rogers won for Kitty Foyle. Now, apparently there was a rivalry between Ginger Rogers and Katharine Hepburn. Ginger Rogers feeling that many roles that she should have been given were given to Katharine Hepburn instead. So, and funny enough, Katharine Hepburn turned down the role of Kitty Foyle, of course, to do the Philadelphia Story, which I believe she produced herself. And she did get nominated for Best Actress here, but she did not win, and Ginger Rogers did. So Betty Davis denied again. Joan Fontaine was nominated for Rebecca. She was a newcomer, so chances are she wasn't going to win there. Martha Scott, I have no idea who that is, was in Our Town. Katharine Hepburn for Philadelphia Story. So Ginger Rogers pulls the upset here as a dark horse candidate and wins. And again, or years later, they're going to say, Betty Davis probably should have won. I will tell you what, I haven't seen Kitty Foyle and I have not seen The Letter. So I can't comment on either performance, but I am going to find them now. Now, here we go. This is interesting. Walter Brennan comes in as Best Supporting Actor for the 3rd time he wins. And let's read what their little commentary is. There was heavy betting at every table except perhaps in the best supporting actor category. Once again, the Screen Extras Guild carried its favorite son and former $5 per day bit player, Walter Brennan, to victory. He appeared mildly embarrassed by the tepid response to his unprecedented third Oscar. So, and I love Walter Brennan, and he's terrific. And this is him in the Westerner with my gosh, what's his name? Gary Cooper. I kept wanting to say somebody else. Anyway, so here he's in the Western with Gary Cooper, and he's really good in this movie. And I think he's always really good, but apparently everybody knew the fix was in and that he kept winning when maybe he shouldn't have, or maybe the reason he won is because of the, the stacked voting, even though maybe he deserved to win anyway. There's no real recognizable names in the supporting category to mention. The best supporting actress that year was Jane Darnell in Grapes of Wrath. I believe she played Henry Fonda's mother in that film. So, now, even though he got nominated, he didn't win Best Director. There's old Alfred Hitchcock with Joan Fontaine. So he gets Best Picture, but does not win Best Director. And no acting awards in this movie, even despite the fact that it's the Best Picture. So that's kind of a, I don't know. I never like it when they do that. So your guys that were nominated for direction were George Cukor, John for The Philadelphia Story, John Ford for The Grapes of Wrath, Alfred Hitchcock for Rebecca, Sam Wood for Kitty Foyle, William Wyler for The Letter. So that's a really powerful lineup there. And John Ford wins for The Grapes of Wrath, which you can't really probably argue with. But I don't know. How can you have the Best Picture and not have the Best Director? So anyway, Hitchcock, this is the first of many Academy Awards he was robbed of, or didn't win. Let's just put it that way. Because, I mean, it's pretty hard to say if John Ford beat him that, he was robbed. But anyway. So just a couple more tidbits I want to throw it out to you here. Now, we've talked about the romance of Bette Davis and William Wyler, the director William Wyler. Let's take a look at what William Wyler looked like. Now, Bette Davis, of course, wasn't exactly a bombshell, but William Wyler wasn't exactly a Hollywood leading man either. So there they are, William Wyler and Bette Davis. Betty's smoking a cig. So here it says here, the filming of The Letter, this is the movie that she just got nominated for and didn't win, Bette Davis, was laced with irony. The previous year, the director William Wyler had sent his lover, Bette Davis, an ultimatum letter. Either dump her husband and marry him or it was over. She never wrote back. So things just stayed status quo and they just kept on banging each other, I guess. Now, the interesting thing about Ginger Rogers winning was when she took her mom up with her on stage to collect the Best Actress award and was weeping and just, really heartfelt. So I think it was one of those moments where everybody was glad that she won. But whether she should have beat out Bette Davis, who knows? Laurence Olivier got the role of Max de Winter in Rebecca after William Powell and Ronald Colman decided not to do it. That's about all the good stuff I got for you. So there you go. That is what happened in the 1940 Academy Awards. I find this stuff fascinating. Not quite as fascinating as reading DeForrest Kelley's poetry in the voice of William Shatner, but I do find it fascinating nonetheless. So, all righty. Where does that leave us? That leaves us on this little gem here. Let's move on to another one of Doesn't happen every week, but I try to get in there every once in a while. Indeed, what is for sale this week? I'm keeping an eye on an auction. I'm always keeping my eye on auctions, and very rarely do I actually pull the trigger because it has to be a combination of something I really want and at the right price. So I'm watching this right here. Now, this is House of Mystery 236 with a fantastic Bernie Wrightson cover, which is why I want it. Now, I have a beat up copy of this in my spinner rack, but I want a high grade copy. Now, here's the problem. Normally, I would not go down to a 9.0. I'd get a 9.2 or higher for a 70s book. However, this particular cover is very much collectible and very much in demand. And everybody that has a 9.2 of this is asking double the fair market value for it. This is in a 9.2, this is about a $350 book. And everybody's asking $600 to $700 or more for this book in a 9.2, which I absolutely will not pay, despite the fact it's a fantastic Bernie Wrightson cover. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at this 9.0, which is pretty close to a 9.2, and it could get up into that $300 range. Right now it isn't. So we shall see if it stays low, or low enough for me to get in on the action. This screen kept popping around on me. Oh, for crying out loud. Right now at $116 with 1 hour and 21 minutes to go. So right about the end of this show, I'll be hopping over here to see if this book has stayed in Aaron Lopresti price range or if it elevates beyond what I'm willing to pay for it. And then once again, I will be left with nothing except my dreams. Okay. This is funny. Paul Taylor says, I'm more interested in the story than the cover. This is more than likely one of the many instances in the 70s where DC hired Bernie to do a cover, and then they wrote a story around it. That was very common practice back in the day. They'd get all these inventory covers, and then they pull the inventory cover out and go, okay, write a story that fits this. And it looks like a pretty cool cover story. Let me see. I've got it over here. We could take a quick look at the story if I can find the comic. Where did I put it? There it is. So here's my beat up copy. Let's see what the story is. Death played a sideshow. Ditko. Doesn't appear to be the story. No, it's not the story. Let's see what else we got in here. Deep Sleep. Script by Jack Olek, art by Paul Kirshner, and inked by Neil Adams. Ooh. I don't know who Paul Kirshner is, but Neil didn't help him much. Let's see here. Nothing. 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 So this fantastic cover by Bernie is not represented in this comic in any way, shape, or form. Tragic. So me buying a slabbed version is not a big deal because I'm only getting it for the cover anyway. So there you go. There is Angela Chocolates Curry, who will now be known as Angela Strawberry Curry. So Angela, Creative Face said that you sent me Strawberry Pocky as a present, as a gift, as a sugar offering. And so I thank you for that. He tosses it like garbage. Well, if there's no rights inside. See, this is me being like Graham Nolan. This is a beat up copy, so I don't care. It's not worth anything. It's worth, what I pay for this, $5 or something. I have no idea. But the high grade stuff, that's the stuff that I take care of. I would never have allowed, if I bought this off the newsstand, to get in the shape that this is in. But, kids will be kids. So anyway, we'll see how this goes. But that's what I'm looking at this week that could possibly be a part of my collection before you know it. Okay, so I do want to share this. Righteous Felon Craft Jerky. Look at this massive bag full of beef sticks and jerky. Shelly got me this for Father's Day. So you got all these, look at this. Savory smoky beef stick. There's another one there. They've got all kinds of different flavors. This is Street Taco. Street Taco. Citrus and basil. This is a turkey stick, so a little bit more low-cal. Fiery habanero. Spicy and smoky beef stick. And all these bags of beef jerky. So we have bootleg and barbecue right there. Soul Survivor, get it? It's Korean barbecue inspired. Okay, we already did bootleg and barbecue. What else I got in here? Original Gangster Hickory Smoky Savory Classic. So I've got all this beef jerky in here. Habanero Escobar. Huh? So I've got all this really... At Christmas time, I always say someone in my family, get me a Hickory Farms box with salami and cheese. That's... So Shelley said, you got this? I got this gift for you for Father's Day. It's the ultimate Father's Day gift. And I was like, wow, is it an old comic? And I thought, no, she would never buy an old comic and take the chance of getting me something that I don't want or not in the right condition or not pay too much for or whatever. But she gets me all this salami and beef jerky. And I'm like, pretty much is the ultimate gift. If there would have been like a brick of cheese in there, it would have been the ultimate gift. Anyway, there you go. Yeah, a year's supply, except I'm eating it much faster than that. It's going to be like maybe 2 months supply and it'll probably all be gone. I'm that guy. They're so expensive though. I usually wait till right before Christmas or right after Christmas when they're like marked down and then I score. That's exactly right. Today it's Aaron's beef, not Gary's beef. Okay. Well, I'm getting to that point where we're getting more and more into modern artists, comic book artists. And I'm not a huge, there's some modern artists that I do like, but there's like ones that I'm kind of like, do I want to do the cover art of so-and-so? And I thought, who haven't I done? And we just did Joe Mad last week. And so I thought, I wonder if what Ed McGuiness has got out there for covers. Because I remember seeing a couple that he did that were fairly iconic. So I went back and looked. And I'll tell you, Ed McGuiness has a lot of good covers. And not just like what you consider more of the classic, early 2000s, late 1990s, early 2000s, Ed McGuiness, but even more recent stuff he's done really nice work on. So yeah, define modern, meaning the past 15 years. Because we're pretty much out of the, we did Golden Age, we did Silver Age, we did the 70s, we've done the 80s, and then we were into the 90s, and now we're moving out of the 90s into the 2000s, which what I would consider that sort of what I would consider modern. So and I actually, sometimes when I pull these artists up, I have a hard time finding 10 covers that I really like. And I have like 12 of his, and I could have got more. I was very surprised at some of this stuff. Not that he's not good, but that maybe I just was unaware that he had done so much cover work. So anyway, let's take a look at some of this stuff, but I guess we should run the intro. All righty. So Ed McGuinness it is, and here we go. Remember, these are not his best covers necessarily. They're just some of my favorites. Your mileage may vary. Now look at this one. I'd never seen this before, but it really struck me. And this has got to be a more modern one. $4.99, yeah, it is. I like these little robots that sort of look like aliens, you know, like aliens from the movie Alien. Big image of Spider-Man, which can't go wrong with. I like the coloring on this. It's very simple and yet really effective. The design is really, really good. The use of negative space here is really good. I don't know what to say, but right out of the gate, I really like this one. How am I supposed to drink out of the straw? Ugh. And I know Kelsey is pretty good, or at least friends with Ed McGuinness. So we've talked about trying to get him on Graybeards, but it hasn't really ever sort of evolved. But he's one of those guys I was looking at going, what is Ed McGuinness up to these days? And then I started looking and I was like, look at those Romita eyes on that Spider-Man. Those are my favorite. That's my favorite look. The McFarlane look is my least favorite, but the Romita is probably my favorite. I think I did do Ron. Somebody help me. I'm positive I did Ron. I know I did Lee Weeks. I'm sure I did Ron. If I didn't, I'll do Ron. When I say I'll do Ron, I mean I'll show his covers. That's what I mean. Okay. Now this is almost cliche at this point, but I still like it. I mean, the pose is sort of very similar to the movie poster, but it's nice and powerful. You know, again, nice coloring here. Lighting effects are good. It's just a really nice, strong image. Like I said, the only problem I have is it's like I think we've seen this about 10 times now, but it's still good. I've got a list around here someplace where I wrote down all the artists that I've done so far. And of course, in typical fashion, I can't. Wait a minute, is this it? Let's see. Oh, I haven't done Finch yet? I did Finch. Let's see. How about that? It doesn't look like I did do Ron. All right, so we're gonna I gotta do Finch, I gotta do Garney. I could have swore I did Finch, but I guess not. I couldn't find him when I went and made this list. Yeah, we'll do Ron. Ron did some nice covers. Ron has a really nice design sense and does very powerful imagery. Yeah, let's see what else we got here. This one, I don't love this cover, but it's so iconic that I had to include it. It's this big Red Hulk cover, #1. There's nothing wrong with it. Again, what Ed does is he uses a lot of times uses a big centralized figure, which you know is going to grab my attention that I really go for. Pity Mod, this is interesting to me because is anyone excited for, I've been calling him Gendy, but I guess it's Gendy. David Williams has met him and worked with him, so he corrected me. It's Gendy Tartakovsky's Conan project. Primal was epic all 3 seasons. I finally, because I don't have HBO Max, but when I was at my hotel in SummerCon, I noticed that I did have HBO Max in the room. So every night I would go and watch Primal episodes and be antisocial, which I do anyway, but at least I had a good reason. So I got through the whole first season of Primal, which I thought was great. And so I actually ordered the DVD for season 2 because I'm not going to order HBO Max just to watch Primal. So I'm going to check out season 2 very soon. But yeah, his Conan should be really, really cool. Corum, I'm not a fan of pose covers. It's a cover, so give me action on it. And I agree. I agree with that. You could argue he's like flexing and screaming, so there's sort of some... This is true. I had Ron on with Graham was on that episode 2 of Graybeards, where we drew Daredevil, or I think I drew Ghost Rider. But Ron drew Daredevil. But yeah, I have not featured him on here yet. What a crime. Okay, I'll do that. I probably should do Joe Jesco too. I'm going to write that down before I forget. All these names are coming up. Because after I get done with doing, all these cover artists, we're then going to take a look at my cover art. And that's how I'll sort of end the whole series. But I already did Bisley, Bill. I know I did Bisley. I don't think I've done Doug yet. So that's another good one. Anyway, so let's get back to Ed. This, again, another fairly simple cover, but there's nothing overly spectacular about this. I just like it. This was an alternate cover, variant cover for Captain America and Bucky, which is a series I'd never even heard of. McGuiness is a no-nonsense kind of artist. He's kind of cartoonish in his approach, but he just draws the figure, does what lighting is necessary, doesn't do a lot of extraneous line work and stuff. But he's been very popular, I think, because he has that sort of cartoonish or animation kind of slant to his work, kind of like Joe Mad in a way. But I like Cap kind of jumping towards. I love Namer back up there, zipping by. Again, I think it's a really good, solid, well-designed cover. I had to put one of these on here because I know he did this series for DC, and this had the most action on it of all the covers he did for Superman, Batman. I really like the Batman in this piece. I love the figure work. I love how he shadowed his face completely, so we just have the glowing eyes. I think the Superman is good, but I really love the Batman figure on here, and that's kind of what got me to put it on here. Now this has a real Michael Golden vibe to it when Michael was doing the Detective Comics covers. Kind of the face and the cowl sort of, and the pose. This is all very Golden-y to me. But I think it's cool. I like it. Again, a big centralized figure of Batman. He's not coming right at us. He's coming to the side, so it's a little different. There's little elements of Superman back there with Mr. Mxyzptlk, but it looks like Bizarro, and then of course not Apocalypse, but Darkseid. But I really like this sort of stylized Batman look here. Yeah, he and Loeb did a lot of good projects together. I'm not sure why I put this on here other than because it's Thundercats, baby. Mondo is bringing out, they have He-Man, Masters of the Universe toys, and also Thundercats toys. They're freaking expensive. The single figure is like $250, but they have like multiple heads and different things you can attach, and they're really, really well done. So this is the only show in the 80s cartoon show that I kind of got my attention, was Thundercats. So more than anything, that's why this cover's on here. What else we got here? Very simple. This is also an iconic cover of his. That's why I picked it. But I do like it. Just a real strong coming at you pose. Again, there's nothing too inventive about it. It's just well done. And I don't know what else to say about it. I think this is probably one of those covers. It's very simple, but I bet it sold a lot of copies. I think McGuinness was working on the inside of this too. This is one of my faves, and I'll let you guys determine why. Shouldn't be too difficult to figure out. Yeah. Fall of the Hulks. I have no idea what this is, and I remember seeing this on the stands, and why would I? Because I don't go to comic shops anymore. I haven't gone to comic shops in years. But look at that MODOK. That's freaking awesome. And the fact the Hulk's on there too, okay, I can live with that. But I love his depiction of MODOK. The Hulk is just like ripping him apart. But yeah, any cover with MODOK on it is going to get my attention. So this is very cool. You almost wish it was the Green Hulk, you know. But I guess the funny thing is, if you had the original and we're selling the original, it'd all be black and white. So you would just see it as the Hulk. Because the Red Hulk is his son, right? From Planet Hulk. The Red Hulk, isn't that the Hulk's son? Or am I thinking of something else? But nice centralized focus again, action. It's a nice cover. I like this one too a lot. And I've never seen this one before either. Now, granted, I'm a big Mephisto fan in the sense that I think he's a really cool looking, scary character. Excuse me. The depth in this cover is what gets me. I like the big foreground image of Mephisto, which is, you know, pretty creepy. I don't know what's going on with the thorns growing through him. You know, the Avengers in the background, that's fine, whatever. Again, it's not a incredibly innovative cover design, but it's one that works really well. Obviously, you've got a lot of depth in it. That really strong foreground element. Probably the fact that that's Mephisto is what sort of grabbed my attention here. Scar is the son of Hulk. Okay, right. Yeah, that's right. But then who's the Red Hulk? Gemini Dragon says he thought Red Hulk was General Ross. Wow. Man, am I out of the loop? I never liked General Ross. Now here, maybe this is another one of those ones that maybe I like just because it's the Defenders, but and he got Doctor Strange in his like cool Doctor Strange outfit that was only around for like 4 or 5 issues, if that, before they changed it again. Justin Soto says General Ross is the Red Hulk. Okay. So the irony is he's spending his whole life trying to destroy the Hulk, and then he becomes one himself. I think it's interesting that he's going left to right here instead of coming at the reader. The all black cover always grabs my attention. I love that Silver Surfer, really dynamic pose down. I mean, I like all of this. I like the Hulk. I like Namor. I love Doctor Strange in this. And I love that Silver Surfer being way more powerful rather than elegant and wimpy that we've come to know him to be. That's really kind of cool. So that kind of grabs my attention. I do like this all black cover. So there you go. But wait, there's more. I don't even know what I'm looking at here, but I kind of dig it. Again, I like his rendition of Spider-Man. I don't know who these people are. I guess is that Spider-Gwen in the black mask there? And that, the girl all the way in the back with the goggles, I think I've drawn her before in Ms. Marvel. She's like Spider-Girl or something, but I don't know who this, is that a chick? Yeah, I guess it is. And this chick, I don't know who these two are here. And I don't know who this black Spider-Man is. That, see, I don't know who these characters are, but I do like it. It's a jumble of characters, but again, the design is really nice of this. Sometimes not the easiest thing to do is take that many characters sort of intertwined and make it into a nice design. Gemini Dragon says it's the DEI Spider-Mans. DF says barf. I assume that's probably more directed at the characters than the actual art. Randy also says it's the derivative spider people. Well, that's for sure. All right, we got one more to look at. The reason I chose this, again, it's a dynamic, good layout, but I love that chubby little maniacal take on Dr. Octopus here. Again, you've got the Spider-Man with the Romita eyes. I love the fact that he's just like right in our face in the foreground, but that fat little maniacal looking Doc Ock, I think is hilarious. I love this. So look at this. You have McGuiness drawing it in ink by Mark Farmer. Wow. I should pick these up. These McGuiness Spider-Man issues. Did anybody read them? Are they any good? Randy Hill says, give him red hair and it could be Liam. Oh, how did a guy like that get so much attention online. It just goes to show you how disproportionate online life is from reality. Or disconnected, not disproportionate. Eric Boyd says, I didn't know he worked on Spidey. I didn't either, but I do like his rendition of Spider-Man. Like I said, it's very Romita-like. And this particular cover, Spider-Man has kind of a really nice Gil Kane vibe to him. And I don't know, Doc Ock. Come on, look at that fat, maniacal Doc Ock. Who doesn't love that? His goggles look like they just glue on. He doesn't have any straps around his head. I may go look these up. I may have to go check these out. I'm very much a guy. I won't buy a comic unless I like the art, but I really like what McGuinness is doing here on these Spider-Man covers. And if he did the inside, then it might be worth checking out. All right, so there you go. There's some of my favorite picks for Ed McGuinness covers. And thank you guys for suggestions. We will, in coming weeks, we'll get Finch, we'll get Garney, Joe Jusko. I'm probably going to do Jorge Jimenez, his Batman stuff. I was looking at Copiel, but Copiel, although really nicely drawn stuff, very much from the Travis school, not really all that dynamic, but I probably will do Copiel at some point too, because I do like his stuff. So we still have some good artists to pull from to do some cover art from. Eric Boy says, this is really good. I dig it. Okay. All righty. Well, we've been moving quite a lot, pretty rapid pace. I thought maybe the Shatner poetry reading might slow the show down, but does not seem to be the case. Did I forget anything? It doesn't look like I did. I do want to take a moment, though, before we move on to our next segment here, to remind everybody we got $121.50 in 50 minutes. That's not what I want to remind you of. I want to remind you of this. Barbaric Adventures, 64 pages, square bound, magazine format, 8.5 by 11, but it'll be more like the Kit Carter graphic novel, because it's going to be almost the exact same size in terms of page count. And it's obviously the same size as page-wise, page proportions. I was going to do it saddle stitched or stapled at the spine, but because we're using nicer paper, the newsprint, it's going to buckle, or it's going to bow out at the spine if I do that. So we're going to do a square bound version of this book. So it's not going to feel like a magazine, but I'm using magazine as a descriptive, not as a literal description of the book itself, but just as a adjective to describe the book, I guess. But anyway, I debut my new title, Primal Zone, in here. Story of a reluctant hero cast in an interdimensional world of dinosaurs and cavemen. David Williams brings us a story of a young medieval knight who battles a horde of demons in a quest to become a true warrior. And finally, Dan Lawless takes us to futuristic Mars, where high-tech society has fallen into savage chaos, and one man leads a rebellion to defeat the corrupt powers that have seized control. Gary Martin also contributes a nice pinup for this book. We have 4 painted cover options. That's mine. That's David Williams right there. There's Dan Lawless. And then there's our guest artist, Joe Jusko, coming in with a real kick butt cover for Freya, the Ice Princess, who also have a 5-page preview story in this book by me. And you will get the original 8-page Primal Zone story I did back in the 90s. It's never been published. So this book is jam-packed full of goodness. The artwork from everybody, I've seen artwork from everybody at this point. Really, really nice. Really, really nice. Here's some examples of my work on this book, and this is all going to be ink washed. We're all doing ink wash, but there's 3 pages of my stuff, so you can tell I'm putting quite a bit of effort into this. Here's Dan Lawless, a couple pages from Dan's stuff. You can also tell that he's not fooling around, that we are bringing the heat, and that's kind of the purpose of this book. Something that we can look back on and go, wow, we really brought it on this project. So you don't want to miss this. This is going to be a really killer project. If you buy the Big Barbaric box, there is this portfolio signed by me, and this cover only available in the Big Barbaric box. So those are 2 extra items that come in the Big Barbaric box along with everything else. There's a sketchbook, 32 pages, 8.5 by 11, same format as the Kit Carter sketchbook. Be a nice companion piece. All this artwork in here will be by me. You can get this print of Freya the Ice Princess called Snow Hunt. Shot glass, number 5 in a series of 6. There's still a little bit of original artwork. This piece is still available. This piece is still available. And I'm selling a couple pages from the interior as well as my cover. If you keep scrolling down vertically, is that vertically? Yeah, vertically. You'll get to what are called rewards that you can order. So you can get the 4-pack plus, which includes all 4 covers plus the sketchbook. You can get a shot glass solo if you'd like. I don't know why I put that in there because you can get it as an add-on anyway. You can get cover A, that's cover C by Dan, cover D by Joe, and cover B by David. You can just choose your favorite cover and get that 1 copy. If you want to do some combo orders here, you can save a little bit of money on getting the book and the sketchbook. Or you can go down here farther, get the book, the sketchbook, and the print for $5 off. There you can see the savings there. Or the big savings is the Big Barbaric box, $210 value for $185. You get all 4 covers plus the extra cover you can only get in the box. The shot glass, the print, the sketchbook, and then the portfolio you can only get in the Big Barbaric box. So those are your order options. Of course, on the right, I have pinned the 4-pack plus that allows you to get all 4 covers plus the sketchbook for a $15 savings, $105, normally $120. So that's a good buy too right there. Keep scrolling down and down and down. You get some original artwork, but you also get the add-ons. So you can kind of buffet style create your own order if you'd like by adding separate elements to yourself or to your order yourself. You also get Saved from the Trash is available here. My sketchbook from the early 2000s. Wraith of God 1, 2, and 3 available. Kit Carter, Garbage Man, Power Cubed, all available on the Kit Carter sketchbook and all 4 covers. So you can basically throw together an order any way you want to arrange it. But again, you guys, this is a killer project. Don't miss out. Oh, got an extra backer. Look at that. On this project because you don't want to miss it. You'll find the link pinned in the description of this chat. Also, it is the link is in the description of this video and pinned to the top of the chat as I was trying to say. If you're watching on X, you'll find a link on my profile page. So there you go. That is your paid advertisement for this week. Now let's move on to bigger. I won't say better. And maybe I shouldn't even say bigger, but let's move on to different. Sorry. So let's get rid of this. It's getting harder and harder from week to week. You never know what is going on in the world of Bigfoot. Are we going to get some new material? Are people going to rehash old videos we've seen before? So me as the guardian, the gatekeeper of Bigfoot information, I have to go in and decipher this for you. And then we do have all new videos. Are they good? I'll let you decide that. What I can definitely tell you is they're definitely here. So here's a combo from some guy who says he took this in Oregon, but then apparently got somebody from Ohio, it's Angela Curry's new stomping grounds, to send in another video. So both those pictures, they're allegedly trail cam photos or taken with a phone. So 2 pictures on the same video. So let's take a look. Okay, what do we got? All right, so this is a picture that this guy allegedly took in Oregon of a Bigfoot with like a dead rabbit in his hand or something, walking across this field. Looks pretty freaking fake to me, but you guys may view it differently. You may not be as cynical as me. You may look at this and go, Aaron, this is the evidence we've been looking for. Jay Rasco wants to know, did I create the Barbaric Tales logo? I did it myself. Thank you very much. I'm too cheap to pay anybody unless I absolutely have to. Okay, so this is the dude that allegedly took the picture. He says he's 6'5", and so that he says that Bigfoot is 2 feet bigger than him. Now, this is the one from the person in Ohio that allegedly this cat, I don't know if that's a bobcat or something down there in the foreground, triggered the trail cam, and then this was caught in the background. What perfect timing. I've got to say this looks more fake than the first one. But again, I'm a cynic. What do I know? You may have a different opinion, but this doesn't look too good to me. It looks kind of fakey. Randy Howell asks a very important question. Now that Kelsey came out of hiding, will Bigfoot sightings fall off? Excellent question. Now that he's out in the open, not roaming around the backwoods, smoking cigarettes. Yeah, that's a good question. So let's take a quick look at this again, just to make sure we didn't miss any important information. So we have this guy right there who took this in Oregon, and then had somebody send him the other photo from Ohio. I don't know that I'm convinced that either is, I don't like the way that thing is walking. It feels like it's off balance to me, but you know. I mean, it's better than a lot of ones we've had, so. Angela Curry says, that looks like Harry and the Hendersons. You know, you're right, it does. Looks like a dude in a costume. Very possibly. There's our reliable source. Why is his New York Yankees hat red? Why would a New York Yankees cap be red? I don't know. And then he gives us this, allegedly from Ohio. That just doesn't even look remotely real to me. He looks kind of middle-aged, overweight, been watching too much TV, kind of hunched over. Gemini Dragon says, never trust a Yankee fan. You might be onto something there. All right, so man, we're kind of off to an auspicious start for sure. Now, what do you think of this one? Now we have some live action here.
The clip itself is only 15 seconds long, but it's telling.
Here we go. Why do I have 2 of these open? Is this going to do this to me again?
Organization Facebook. If you take a close look at the video, some interesting characteristics of a Bigfoot posture and locomotion can be identified. And several characteristics of a suit can be ruled out. Unquote.
I hate it when I do stuff like this and I can't figure out where that voice is coming from. I know I'm running it someplace, but I can't find it to shut it down.
pauses the footage and looks like this still.
Okay, I think I got it under control. Okay, let's try and look at this again without the sound on, so I don't get struck. You know, I don't want to say I'm ripping off other people's videos, but if someone's willing to do the work for me, why would I not take advantage of that? Okay, so here we go. I don't know where this is at. This is the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization that came up with this video. Sounds like a totally legit organization. Okay, here we go. So slow-mo, obviously. Now, allegedly, this was taken before AI, so therefore it can't be AI, which is, you know, you can go in and doctor an old movie. But this, look, now see, this is when these researchers get on my nerves. Okay, look at the posture. You know, that he's not running like a human. Duh, but it could be a human in a costume trying to run like an ape, right? So that doesn't authenticate anything. And then right here, he's talking about the calf, right? See how it's rounded there? And so usually saying that costumes get baggy on the legs, and so it looks like a real calf or something, so therefore it's legit. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then he's saying that the right here, that see, humans don't run like this. This is you see how high he's lifting his leg up? A human wouldn't run like this. It didn't say a human can't run like that. He says we don't run like that unless we're in a costume pretending to be Bigfoot and running like that on purpose. So he's like pointing out all these things that are why it's real when they're all things that could be easily emulated by a human being in a costume. So, Gemini Dragon says that's Bigfoot running from Billy Tucci's gun. Eric Boyd says prior to AI, but Tater Cam activated. I'm not saying it's not AI. They're saying it's not AI. Brown pants and a red jacket, says Randy Howell. Jerry says the red is way too human of a color. Anything that's survival depends on blending in with the background. Wouldn't be that brightly colored. That's a good point. Because that's pretty orange. But we do have some, you know, we do have an action film here, which is more than we usually get. So I still think obviously fake, but, you know, a little effort was put into it. So I'd give him a little bit of credit there. You know, we got a little bit of performance going on there. So, you know. Now this is interesting. This is Florida skunk ape, allegedly. So somebody out in the woods in Florida, why anybody be out in the woods in Florida? There's so many like snakes and alligators and crap that can bite you that I don't know that I'd be hiking around in Florida. But anyway, he comes across this nest, allegedly. And then he's like, I'm going to go inside, because that's what I would do if I found a nest like that I thought maybe an animal was in. I'd stick my head in there because it seems like the safe thing to do. And he's very calm in his voiceover, but he's saying right back there, there's a black figure all the way in the back, right here-ish. Right there. Can't really tell. I think you can see the eyes in a second. Yeah, kind of the eyes are right there, I guess. It looks like it could be just a shadow on the back wall there. I don't really, he says it's moving. I'm not really seeing a lot of movement there. Maybe a little bit towards the end. But I got to believe that's a skunk ape or something. Wouldn't it, like, in somebody's like crawling into your nest, wouldn't you like charge them to get them out of there? And like I said, who's going to be stupid enough to crawl inside? I mean, I would stand outside and shine a light in there, but I wouldn't crawl in and just hope that something didn't come out and rip my face off. So it has that kind of staged feeling to it, but of course, this is 2010, so this is, 16 years ago. I was still in my 40s 16 years ago. Wow. The hair wasn't doing much at 46, but I was still 46. 2010, man, I was working for Marvel in 2010. Crazy. Was I? Or did I already go all the way over to DC? I can't remember my first year on Wonder Woman was. I wanted to say 2012. But no, I probably was at DC by 2010. I take that back. I don't know. I'm not really seeing anything back there, but maybe I'm wrong. Brian Suddenly Old, if that was a honey badger, I would eat that guy's face off. Randy Howell says that's an old beaver lodge after water levels have dropped. I bet you're right. I bet you're absolutely right. Ooh, Brian Suddenly Old says, sorry, I was late, but it was enjoying some Cold Stone ice cream cake. Cold Stone. Oh, so good. To celebrate Mel Brooks' 100th birthday. Wow. 100 years. So George Burns, Bob Hope, Jimmy Carter, and now Mel Brooks. 100 years old. Wow. Leather and Steel says it could be a coyote back there. Really, though? Wouldn't a coyote would growl or something, wouldn't it? Well, I guess we leave it to the stuff of nightmares. All right. Okay. I'm only showing this one because, well, I got to show something. Okay. So if you're looking at this going, what the heck am I looking at? Here's his face right here. So his eyes, nose, mouth right there. Allegedly, he's running, carrying a baby Sasquatch in his hand. I can't really tell. The pose is ridiculously awkward. The way the legs are almost knock-kneed together there. I mean, I suppose you could say that makes it more realistic because it's not, a cliche standard running pose. It looks, maybe he stepped wrong or something, or look at is that the Salacious Crumb that he has in his hand? Maybe look at two big bug eyes right there. That may be Salacious Crumb from Return of the Jedi. What did you say? Brian says, a student film. Yes. Leather and Steel says Star Wars was the most interesting take on Bigfoot. Of course, he's referring to Chewbacca. So there you go. I mean, the face, I kind of like the ape face there, even though it's really blurry and stuff, but I'm not sure what to make of this. I mean, my initial reaction is It's too blurry. It looks fake, but you know, who's to say? Apex Comics goes, they're going to do Bigfoot tales in the future. I don't know. I'm sure the audience would be huge for that. You know, back in the day, back in the studio days of Studio Source in the 90s, we were thinking about putting together a feature to go in National Enquirer, and it would be all about, you know, cryptids, aliens. So we do like a full page, like a Sunday strip that would be like a Bigfoot story or a Bat Boy story or anything like that. And we were going to pitch it to the National Enquirer. To be honest with you, I don't know why we never went through with that, because it still sounds like a good idea. Although I don't even know if they're publishing the National Enquirer anymore. Steel Rage says, and he sounds like he's raging, says, I'm seeing faces all over this AI slop. Yeah, probably. I guess there might be a face there, maybe one back here. Dark Force Universe says it looks like a Frank Robbins pose. Angela Curry just comes right out and says it looks fake, and that's what Angela Strawberries Curry would say. So there you go. That's our Bigfoot videos. I do want to, when you guys were talking about Kelsey being back among the living, it made me think of this. And then Bigfoot, I drew this on, I don't know what I drew this for, but this is Bigfoot smoking. And could this be mistaken for Kelsey? I almost think it could be. It's kind of a grumpy Sasquatch smoking a cig. I can see it. Every time now I look at this, I can't help but see Kelsey in there. It's 2000. If you're asking about this, is 2025. I don't know what you're asking. If there's 2018, I don't know. Now look at this. Matthew Muma is like begging for more Star Trek poetry. I don't know how I can turn down someone, you know, pleading for more Star Trek poetry. Let's just read another page, just for the fun of it. So we got through 3 pages of this poem and we're still not done. So the last line was, to name his dream he held so dear. Okay, so we're coming up with a name here for the page 4. When the party calmed down and the feeling was mellow, the bird stepped forward to christen this fellow. Lift your glasses, he said out loud. I've got a new baby of which I'm proud. He took an edict from his hand, the symbol he'd created for the changing man. He placed it tenderly around the small neck, and in a mellifluous voice said, Star Trek. The brass with guts jumped up and down. My God, he said, what a sound. How did he think of such a name? It's commercial as hell. It's the name of the game. Well, the public loved it, but the Nielsen was low. And they tell the networks what to show. The word was out for all to hear. Star Trek dead after the 2nd year. The rest is history, as you surely know. For you, the fans, saved the show. The millions of letters you sent to the brass simply knocked them on their ass. Golly, it just keeps going. Oh my gosh, it just keeps going and going and going. Well, this was written in 1977. by DeForrest Kelley, and the calligraphy and design by Carolyn Kelley. I don't know, is that his wife or daughter? I don't know. So quality poetry from our good friend DeForrest Kelley, also known as Dr. McCoy. I'm going to crack my knuckles and jump for joy. I got a clean bill of health from Dr. McCoy. I should read it on Graham's show. This, if I started reading this in Graham's show, Ron Garney, his head might explode. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you for joining me today. Another fantastically fun show of comics, cryptids, and cannonballs. Remember to back Barbaric Adventures #1. We are all diligently working on it, making great progress. And like I said, I will share a T-Rex page here in the next week or so once I get that one done. 20 minutes till my auction's over. Don't go in there and bid it up and screw up my chances of getting that book. I got a feeling it's going to go higher than I want to pay, but I shall see. I have baby back ribs in the oven, slow cooking right now. Got to go check on those. But thank you guys all for joining me. Thank you for the super chats. Greatly appreciate it. And I greatly appreciate your contributions in the chat, because it's this interactive format that makes the show work. So you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Join us on the Professionals Tuesday night. Andy Smith will be hosting. And then the Graybeards on Wednesday, along with the Landing Party. We'll be reviewing the movie musical 1776 as we get into July and begin our patriotic movie reviews. So anyway, thank you guys. We'll see you next week right here on Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs. Good night, everybody.